Hello my fragrance lovers and my good smelling companions. Dominic Farrell here for Fragrance Reviews, and today I'll be giving you top 5 benefits as to why I think you should wear cologne. Why should you be wearing cologne? What are some of the great benefits of wearing it? And what do I think from my perspective are the benefits you'll be getting? 5 of the top benefits. I mean there are a lot of them really. But these are a sort of a top 5 that I thought were fairly important ones to go through. So let's get into this. And first of all, you have to realize it's not as common as you think for your average guy to wear cologne on a regular basis, but we will get to that in I believe it's a second benefit. So let's get started then. And for the first, I'm going to kick off, as the Irish say, with the first benefit, which is when you get up in the morning and you put a bit of cologne on you, you instantly go from being okay to being amazing. So it's like from a 50% to 100%, from a 5 to a 10, you jump up a huge notch simply by spraying on some cologne. This is the case because as soon as you've got it on, you yourself know that it's there, so you have that confidence. You just smell great. You walk into the office if you're working, or you go down to town, and so you get the bus, public transport, or whatever. Immediately, you're somebody who's actually got his life together. He knows what he's doing. He can obviously afford a bit of cologne, and he cares about personal grooming to the extent that he will also every day probably be using cologne. And you know that just having a bit of deodorant, that's not good enough for you. You're a gentleman, you deserve more. Heck, I mean, the people in your life probably deserve a bit more as well, that you are in good shape, that you are, as in like things are just on a nice high level with you, a nice high standard. Not ridiculously high, but it's not just about being hygienic. I wash my hands, after I use the loo, but shower in the morning, shave or whatever, unless of course you have a beard like me. It should be trimmed really, but I'm a bit scruffy sometimes. But then you go ahead and spray on that cologne, and immediately you will go from being okay to being amazing. There's already a big jump there, and it can be almost any cologne, especially if it's one that's kind of, what you're doing with it. It's the right season for this one, or when the evening comes along, then you have one of your evening scent colognes, which are ideal for the evening, for example. And so that would definitely be a big one, is that you've just upped your game a huge amount simply by spraying a few sprays of some nice good quality men's fragrance. So that would be our first benefit, jumping from a 5 to a 10, or going from okay to being amazing. Second one, number 2, is that colognes, they actually say, because of the chemicals in some of the colognes, in a lot of them in fact, they can contribute to a good mood, because scent, like these things, it can go to your brain, literally. It goes to your head. It affects your mood. It can affect your mood. A good smell, if there's a bad smell in the air, if there's a dank, a mouldy smell, do you really think people are going to have happy, sunny moods? Nah. If they're in a warehouse and it stinks, do you think those people are in a good mood? If the place smells brilliant, if the people smell brilliant, do you think the mood is going to be upped a bit? Of course it will. So it does actually affect mood. And not only that, they say that other things like mint, for example, can affect your memory, so you can remember things better. Lemon sort of affects the, I think it's to do with like sort of the happy sort of mood as well. And they say that Lamal is, I've heard this one is supposed to be called the ultimate happy kind of cologne in the sense that like it can trigger that good mood. Creed Aventus obviously is quite an amazing one. It's got plenty in it, and a lot of these other ones, and especially if it's, maybe let's say the sun is going down a bit, but the day is still looking nice, and you put on something that was just kind of like Dolce & Gabbana the One, for example. There's not hardly anything left in it, unfortunately. It was a brilliant cologne, that one, and it's got that sweetness. It's kind of like the day is done, and we're getting kind of echoes and vibes of that sweet summer's day that we had, and it's kind of on the skin now, and it can manipulate your mood in a good way. It manipulates the brain chemistry. So colognes have an interesting way of affecting our brains, and they do it in various different ways. They can create beautiful memories associated with that cologne. And mood is an extremely important thing. Everybody wants to feel good, no matter what time of the day it is. And of course, there's nothing like going to work feeling good in the morning, like not feeling like this is horrible, I'm a victim, everything's awful. But getting on top of things, getting out there, feeling good, smelling good, knowing that you have good quality scent on your person, and that affects the brain chemistry. It does create for a good mood, especially because cologne scent is always positive. It's not, obviously it doesn't stink, so therefore it's not going to give, there's no cologne out there, unless they're really bad rip-offs, that are going to create a bad mood, obviously, because it's all about lifting, not only lifting the spirits, if you like. It can, it really does sort of change. It might be hard to notice, but it can be a bit gradual, but it happens quite subtly. But if you go into an environment that's bright and it smells nice, you might not realize it, but you're actually feeling better than if you just walked into a bland waiting room with no particular smell at all. You don't really think about these things, but subconsciously it's there. Your mood changes when you wear cologne and when you smell cologne around yourself on other people. It sort of lightens the mood a bit, lightens the tone, can even help people break the ice and start talking. You've got a good cologne. But we'll get to that one as well. Okay, so for number 2, that would be basically it can contribute, and usually does, to a good mood. And there are lots of chemicals in colognes. They say help with memory, help with just general happy kind of chemicals in the brain. Okay. For number 3, I'm going to say simply, you stand out when you wear cologne. There's no doubt about it. Somebody that is wearing a cologne is going to stand out. Here I want to mention that now, of course, you're not obliged to believe this, but I've read, I think, at least 1 or 2 sources. They're just basically bloggers who go on about fragrances, and the kind of surveys that they talk about. They say that there's about 80% of your average guys do not wear cologne on a regular basis. 80%. Do I believe that? Actually, I kind of do believe that, because I don't want to sound sexist or anything, but it is actually, from my experience, quite a common thing for a guy or a man to be content with just deodorant, and that does the job for me. Perfume is for women. Now, of course, people realise that there's a thing out there: men's cologne, men's perfume, men's fragrance. But they tend to think, well, I don't really need that. I've already got, as long as I look smart enough and I have some deodorant, I'm good. And they don't seem to have this passion for smelling really good, and for having an expensive cologne. Well, I mean, they're all a bit pricey. I mean, I don't want to call them all expensive, but the cologne is quite expensive. I mean, you have to pay a good 50-60 quid to buy a bottle of cologne. Everybody knows that. Basically 80% of guys don't wear cologne. It comes down to the fact that it's one of those accessories that a lot of guys just dispense with, and that they believe they can do without. It's almost every woman probably has perfume you know, it'd probably be quite the opposite. It'd be like, you know, there'd be probably like 5% that don't do something. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. But the amount of guys in my life that I know, and I think only 2 of them I know of that actually have cologne. I know quite a lot of guys. I mean, maybe once in a while now and then, but you know, it's not a big thing with men. Even though if you're into it and you're on the market, you're looking at them, you probably know guys that do, and you probably think it is quite popular. I don't know, but let's just say a good chunk and the majority of men don't wear colognes on a regular basis. And I mean, as I said, all it takes is you get up in the morning, you go to your selection, you think, yeah, this is the right one for today, or I'm going to work today, so you know, bit of this, you know, that's my my lifestyle. That's me. That's part of what I do every day. Yes, that's definitely the thing is that because there are not all that many, not everybody wears cologne, and it does depend where you are. There might be certain areas where it's very popular to have it, but you stand out because also if your friends, a lot of the male friends you have, don't have it, then all of a sudden, hey, nice cologne, dude. Yeah, hey, you got something on there, huh? Yeah, that's not just deodorant, you know. So you stand out with the men, with the women, with everybody. You are. Why wouldn't you want that? You know, everybody wants to stand out a bit, really. I mean, usually, unless they're super shy. But even then, they'd rather. It wasn't difficult to draw a bit of attention, and it didn't make them feel uncomfortable. So definitely you stand out, and part of the fact that you stand out all the more is that not every other guy is wearing a cologne. Okay, so for number 4, well, here's kind of an obvious one. You attract women, so it's one of the main reasons a guy will wear a cologne is to attract women, to at least you know, stand out, to feel more confident approaching women as well, because yeah, that's a big theme of colognes. You know, women are, you know, drawn quite powerfully as well by you know, scent and smell. That's a bit more powerful than perhaps some people realise. Like I said, it can heighten your mood a bit. It can just make people feel a bit more relaxed, more easy, more of a happy, positive vibe, more nice tone to it. And so therefore it's, you know, it's brilliant. If you know that there's going to be women wherever you're going, that already boosts your confidence a lot, and it does actually draw the women in, and it does actually make them want to come over, you know, have a talk, get things going with you. And so not only that, but also, you know, obviously if you've got a significant other in your life, it's for her pleasure as well. You know, she associates memories with certain colognes. Like if, let's say, this was my signature scent, and then often when this is kind of in the air, or if I walk in, or if she, you know, sniffs this on my some of my clothing, even when I'm not around, it just gets associated with good, positive, happy memories, right? So because it becomes your scent, it can become your signature scent, and even if it's not, you can have maybe a few that you kind of invest in, and still it'll be she'll associate, you know, let's say this one and this one. That's Timothy smell. You know, let's say let's say your name was Tim or something like that. And you know, and it does create moods associated with those memories, and so it's actually quite a thoughtful thing to do, and it certainly is going to attract, and it certainly is going to build and help further your relationship with the the woman of your dreams, the woman in your life, right? So it attracts the women, it creates good memories, it just helps. You know, it makes your wife feel better and about you, and she associates the cologne with you. Okay, now some people have so many that maybe it's but a lot of people have a signature scent, so that's why I'd encourage you, especially if a woman in your life, maybe try and find a signature one that she likes a lot. But of course it has to be what you like as well, and it's not just about pleasing other people. But if a big idea is to attract, then you know, do something that she's falling over in love with, and pick a cologne that she really, really likes. And you can get advice about that online and other fragrance people who are into this whole thing. Okay, and that would kind of be it for number 4. And I think finally for my number 5, I came up with, I think we may have touched on it a bit already with the first one, but it's basically a great topic for conversation. 5th benefit, it's always easy to get a conversation going, good conversation starter. Hey, are you interested in colognes? What do you think of fragrances? What do you think of wearing colognes? Some people might just say, nah, I'm good with that. But then you can start encouraging them then. Oh, well, why not? You know, would you try just one? You know, there's some fairly versatile ones out there. You know, Lamel, for example. Or, you know, there's, would you try something like this? This one is, if I can get the camera to focus. Oh dear, it's struggling, I'm afraid. By Dermot O'Leary, so it's an Irish guy that produced this one, but this is lovely. I mean, it's got, so it's, yeah, vetiver and cedarwood. Oh, okay, I didn't even notice it was that, but I mean, I've had it for a long time, and I just kind of noticed it was still there. There's a little bit left in it, but that's a lovely kind of a little blend, and it's obviously not very popular because it was just, I think it was created by this Irish guy for Marks and Spencer's, and it's probably not, well, it definitely isn't a big one. I mean, not popular that is, but it's actually really good, and you might be able to just find some nice interesting one that is good and punchy and you can tell people about, and you know, if you're talking to an Irishman, maybe find something like that was uniquely sort of produced by some Irish guy, and yeah, something like that, and you know, find one that's, you know, some brand that's made by some nationality that person is from, for example, if you can find something like that. But basically what I'm saying is, there's a lot of nuances, and there's always, it's quite easy to make an interesting conversation out of the whole ambit of, you know, cologne, smelling good, fragrance. And if somebody does, then you can ask them about which one they bought, when was the last time they bought one, how much was it, would you be worth upping your game a bit, getting another one, would you get the same one again, have you ever got samples of one, when you bought your last one, did it come with samples, and what were those samples, blah blah blah. Obviously I'm not here to tell you how to have a conversation, but I'm just giving you examples of how easy it can be as quite a unique and interesting conversation starter, or if a party or something like that and you just don't know what to say to these other guys you haven't met, instead of just the usual, you know, sport or whatever it is, or yeah, you can talk about something kind of classy, so colognes, and then that gives an impression that you know some pretty cool stuff as well. So thank you for watching this one. I know it was a bit of an unusual one, but I hope that gave you a little bit of stuff to think about. And you know, it kind of depends. This channel does depend a bit on what people ask for. It's not a very fast-paced thing, but I kind of do a bit here and a bit there. I sort of tip away. And Joe has asked for one on spice bomb, so I'm looking forward to doing that next time I get round to it. Not too sure when, but if you feed me things, then this will continue to grow a bit. Well, as in to keep going a bit. But basically, it's a bit of a background thing, this channel, and I do a bit here and a bit there. So that's how it is, guys. Thanks very much for watching me once again on this channel, and march forward, guys, smelling good.